Welcome to the Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. I'm so happy you found us. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on iFiber One News Radio, KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Friday morning, good morning to you. And Spencer, good morning to you. How's it going?
Good morning, but are you sure it's Friday? I'm losing track of what day it is.
I was telling...
Right. I thought it was Wednesday. Oh, yeah. You're right. Happy Friday, man.
I was telling folks about that survey we talked about this week where folks had no idea what day it was. They didn't even know what day it was when they were filling out the survey.
Gosh.
You know, that's kind of where we're at now, huh?
It really is. Boy.
Well, today in the news, the latest on the COVID numbers for Mason County. More information on unemployment fraud. There's a car parade tomorrow in downtown Shelton.
I'll check the weather for you. It's going to be another nice day today. The wet weather will be back for the weekend, though, chances are. We'll hear from Dr. Alex Apostle from the Shelton School District, Shelton City Manager Jeff Niten, and Police Chief Darrin Moody talk about the outlook of Shelton during COVID-19. Mason County Public Health's daily brief noted one new confirmed case of COVID-19, but the total active cases is down to 3. The total since this began is 35 confirmed cases, 1 death, and 1,817 tests performed, according to the Department of Health on the 26th. Monday on the show, we'll talk with Dave Wyndham, Health Director for Mason County, and Sheriff Salisbury on Phase 2 in the county moving forward. The current case is a male in his 70s.
Well, Shelton Relay for Life is reminding folks to join them for a car parade tomorrow. They are going to meet at Peninsula Credit Union at 11:30. Peninsula Credit Union's parking lot is on Coda, but Peninsula Credit Union's address physically is 521 Railroad. So the Shelton Relay for Life, they are still planning on having their relay later this year, but there has been limited opportunities, Spencer, for folks and for Relay to promote their events. Usually they have garage sales and, we've had a few gatherings by now with Matlock and Bluegrass and things like that where they've had a chance to talk to folks about Relay for Life. But with COVID and everything being canceled, they didn't have that opportunity. So they said, well, let's do a car parade. So that'd be pretty cool. Let me see here. I think depending on what we're doing tomorrow, we may actually head out there and try to do, at this point, I'm ready for anything.
Sure.
So I'm ready to do a car parade.
That's
Facebook
great.
Live car parade.
That's
it
awesome.
looks like they're going to go up Railroad, up North Cliff, through Island Lake, kind of by Walmart there on Wallace Neelan, past the high school, and then over to Walmart, then now Mountain View Hill. That's about a 5-mile loop. I ran that many months ago. And then they're going to go over to like Bob's and up Hillcrest. So this is all through town. That's
a big route.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. So you'll hear the car honks and things like that. And so they are meeting again tomorrow at 11:30 at Peninsula Credit Union. So that should be a lot of fun.
That's great. If I wasn't working, I'd be there with you. That sounds like a really cool event. Washington officials say the state has recovered $300 million paid to criminals who used stolen personal information to file fraudulent unemployment benefit claims. Employment Security Department Commissioner Susie Levine said that she could not yet reveal the precise amount that was paid out in fraudulent claims. She said that the initial recovery was a result of the state's collaboration with federal law enforcement and financial institutions. Levine first detailed the scope of the fraud last week, saying that the information of tens of thousands of people in the state was used to fraudulently receive hundreds of millions of dollars in unemployment benefits.
State Patrol is seeking anyone with information about the theft of a historical marker from the Capitol campus. The marker was placed on the West Campus by the Daughters of the American Revolution back in 1924 to mark the location of Washington's first governor, Isaac Stevens' home. State Patrol thinks the theft occurred the week of the 11th, someone prying the metal plaque off the stone. If you have any information, you can call Trooper Nick Casto at State Patrol, 360-596-3990. Also got this in, Commander Chad Cross announcing the start of the class of 2020 through 2022 Fire Recruit Academy at the Washington State Fire Training Academy in North Bend. On May 7, 15 firefighter recruits started 12 weekday recruit academies that meets the National Fire Protection Association 1001 standard for firefighter professional qualifications in various levels. And there is a firefighter for the North Mason Regional Fire Authority that's taking part in this, Antonio Summerlin. So congratulations to Antonio for being a part of this elite firefighter recruit academy, and good for him. Again, today on the show, we got Dr. Alex Apostle, Jeff Niten from the city of Shelton. He's the city manager, also police chief, Darrin Moody, and more.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Well, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes on the Daybreak Show as it rolls on here. And I've got two great guests on Zoom video conference right now, Jeff Niten and Darrin Moody from the city of Shelton. Jeff is our city manager and Darrin is the police chief. Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Morning.
I was going through the emails, and Mary Ricker, Communications and Government Relations Specialist, sent this out to everybody, say about a week ago now. And the city, of course, is dealing, as with everybody is, coronavirus and COVID-19. There is preparations under works for kind of trying to understand how the city will best work through this trickle down of revenue loss. Jeff, let's start with you and just what are you guys anticipating? Overall, I know it's going to be hard to get any kind of exact numbers, and then we'll move into the public safety part of it.
Sure. So we are anticipating revenue loss, no doubt. Sales tax makes up a significant portion of our general fund revenue. Sales tax is more than likely going to take a hit, but what makes projections for the city and specifically in government really, particularly in the state of Washington, because we don't have income tax, sales tax is one of our main drivers for revenue. The other thing that makes it very difficult for us to project is that sales tax actual receipts for the city lag about 2 months behind. So we get data this month. Actually, we just got it yesterday for the actual sales in March. And that makes it very hard to predict going forward when you're trying to build a data set that you can project a trend line for. We're lagging behind. And it makes sense why it's a 2-month lag. Business owners pay their sales tax to the Department of Revenue usually on the 25th of March. So even if the sale was made on March 1, that's still remitted to the Department of Revenue at the end of March. Then the Department of Revenue takes all that and disperses it back to the city, and that takes about a month. So it's about a 2-month lag, but that does make our projections, particularly in this environment, very difficult to do.
So if you're just seeing the March numbers and this all really kind of took effect middle of March, was there anything in there that gave you pause or concern about how it's going to look as we move forward?
There is. We received the March numbers yesterday morning, and we're down a significant amount. Some of that was anticipated, though. We did anticipate a revenue drop just because the major infrastructure projects that were completed last year, we're not buying things for that anymore. So we expected that to happen, and that was anticipated and budgeted for. There was another revenue loss that was unaccounted for, unexplained by any other reason other than the COVID pandemic, and that is the one that's most worrisome for a couple of reasons. Our city council issued the emergency order on March 13th, but the actual stay-at-home order from the governor didn't take effect until March 23rd. So we're really looking at a week or possibly 2 weeks of actual relevant data that we can use to form a trend, which doesn't, again, adds to the kind of uncertainty about projections going forward.
A lot of folks consider one of the main essential portions of city government is public safety. And Chief Moody, we're bringing you in here now to talk a little bit about this. And explain to folks a little bit about what you're doing in the police department and how folks may or may not see a change in either officers walking the street or, things like that?
Well, in general, I have to thank Jeff and the council because they've made public safety a priority. And that includes our team of public safety here. It's not just the patrol officers that make up this agency. It's the civilian staff, code enforcement. So you're not going to see an immediate impact or an impact at all at this point on the patrol level. That's going to remain intact. Like Jeff said, who knows what the future holds in this? We don't know what we don't know. But I can say that public safety is a priority with the city. And you won't see an impact on the patrol level staff. Where you will see an impact is our lobby hours will adjust a little bit. And we'll be posting those so people are aware. Because we may be looking at employee furloughs down the road. And that'll impact, what kind of, such as getting your gun permits, getting copies of police reports, things along those lines where people come into the lobby to get those things. That may be impacted a little bit with hours, but still should be able to handle everything just fine. But it may be a little variety of hours. And I'll, myself included in that, and Jeff as well, that we will become by default part-time employees if we go to furloughs, which will put us at, there'll be certain times where the chief's not going to be there, the city manager's not going to be there. Needless to say, we're both in these jobs where we understand that, we're still there and we're still going to get phone calls and we don't get to have the day off and check out and go, okay, I'm on my furlough day today. Don't ever bother me. That's just not reality. But it will affect us a little bit there.
Have you guys noticed, obviously with the Civic Center closed, the foot traffic is not coming through there. But if you were able to look at the last 2 months versus a snapshot of the last year of visitors through the Civic Center, either into the police department or upstairs into the city offices, now I guess would probably be a really good time to think about making those perhaps long-standing changes to office hours and visitation hours and things like that, especially if you have to look at this moving down the road.
So,
go ahead, Jeff.
So we have looked at that, but one of the things that we wanted to prioritize is being available for the public as much as we possibly can. Our purpose here is to serve the needs of the city and to serve the needs of the people who live in it, work in it, and would like to invest in it. While we will have furloughs, and that'll mean pay cuts for most of the non-represented folks, myself included, about 10% pay cut over the rest of the year, because we are, furloughing 1 day a week. That's 20% of your work, and for half a year, 10% is pretty simple to figure out. But we wanted to stagger those shifts and make sure that during regular business hours, when people expect us to be here, we are able to do that to the extent possible. Like Chief Moody was talking about in the police department, they only have 2 record clerks. So there may have to be some adjustments there, but wherever it is possible, we will be staggering those days off, those furlough days, to maintain the services that the citizens of Shelton come to expect.
How much of a conversation are you guys having with, and I know that it's pretty bizarre how this works. I know cities can't, cities and counties and states can't run deficits. The feds can. There's a lot of talk in Washington, D.C. about the next package of relief that's available and whether or not that it goes to municipalities, either states, then trickle down to cities. But all across the country, cities just like our size, 10,000, 12,000 people, are really struggling. Are you guys all trying to get together with their congressional leaders and saying, listen, this is a once in 100-year pandemic. We've been spending a lot of money. This is a necessity to keep us out of another depression. Please do what you can. We don't have the same abilities when it comes to budgeting as the feds do, so help us out here?
So we've talked to Representative Heck several times. We've talked to Representative Kilmer several times. Both of our senators in Washington State in their offices, Senator Cantwell and Senator Murray, have been extremely helpful in that they understand what our needs are and why they are existing the way they do at this time. Representative Heck knows probably better than most because he came up through the state, so he knows how state finances work. And we're very appreciative for their help and support. I think if the HEROES Act passes in its current form or some modified form, it would forestall a lot of the things that we are looking at having to be able to do, which, coupled with the lack of data points to form a trend, is one of the reasons why I'm trying to push back harsher measures until a little bit later in the year, because we don't know what that act is going to do. Mm-hmm. We could have acted immediately and earlier, but those are guesses at that point. And when you're dealing with the public trust and citizens' finances, we don't make guesses. I think that if that act passes, that would help our city out, our county out, our community out, and our entire state from having to deal with these issues.
And that just seems across the whole nation there. Chief Moody and Jeff too, when the citizens of Shelton moving forward will interact with city employees, how is it going to look? Are the city staff, is everybody going to have masks, or the police department getting masks, or how's that going to be?
Well, I've been working with DEM and city staff, Department of Emergency Management, from day one on this. And while I'd like to say the federal government, is going to come in and save the day, that's just not reality. And so we saw early on, and Jeff and I met, and we started going out to vendors that we had, going, look, we know what's coming. There's going to be a short supply no matter what you do. And yes, there are order forms that you can fill out for the state and federal, protective equipment, but that's going to be down the road. That's not coming tomorrow. And so luckily, Jeff and I were able to look at different ways of doing this, different vendors. Our Public Works Department has been outstanding because there's a group of vendors there that nobody tapped for public safety protective gear. We were talking to welding companies, and luckily we were able to get our hands on enough masks. Some of the ones we got for the police department were very, very high-tech, heavy-duty masks for people who have constant contact. Public Works and us shared those. We also have regular masks to give to city staff. I made runs to Seattle to a sanitation company to get hand sanitizer. It's the little things like that we work together as a team in the city. We're able to get those equipment needs in place. And we have gotten orders through DEM of some other things to supplement that. But, we've been working nonstop with department heads over the last month to determine what level do we use PPE within the city, and what level do we expect the public to use PPE when they come into the city. I go back to the recommendations, which are, if you're in your own private workspace in your office, you're okay. I see people driving their cars with their mask on, and it makes me laugh thinking, are you thinking you're going to get yourself sick? And so we've told folks in the city, if you're in your own private cubicle or office and there's a low risk, then you're fine. But if you're going to go out into the public areas or have contact with other people, then you should probably be masking up. And Jeff designed city policies around that for the staff, and we're going to encourage that to the public as we move forward with this. I know the courts are putting in implementations in the court system. Hey, don't come into court unless you got a mask, and if you don't have one, we'll find you one.
Starting to see directives all across the state from health officers on mandating that in some of the surrounding areas.
Since March on, our custodial staff here has been awesome. I mean, they go through the entire civic center where we're at least twice a day, and you see them with the doorknobs in the common areas, disinfecting and cleaning. We even hired a cleaning company to come in and clean the entire civic center and disinfect before we brought staff back.
Mm-hmm. You guys have got some tough decisions moving forward in the next couple of weeks, leading on through the rest of the year, and we will continue to share with the community all the information that you have to offer there. Be safe, and good to see you guys. And we'll check in a couple of weeks. City Manager Jeff Niten, Shelton Police Chief Darrin Moody here this morning on the Daybreak Show. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFiber One News Radio.
Good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes here on the Daybreak Show as we chat now with the superintendent of the Shelton School District. It's Dr. Alex Apostle. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be here again every Friday.
Every Friday, we continue to get you on the air to talk about the things that are happening in the district. It's a short week here. Memorial Day was on Monday, and that kind of was the unofficial start to summer. We're starting to wrap things up, and this is a different end of the school year. Let's kind of just talk about what the plans are, what the thoughts are in each kind of category. In elementary, how the school year may wrap up. In the intermediary, and then in the high school setting. So, like, if we have a couple weeks left of school, and the parents and kids are still doing their virtual Zoom meetings and everything like that, eventually we'll get to the end of the school year.
Yeah. June 19th is the end of the official school year, and I have nothing but praise, and I'm so grateful to the families and to the staff for everything they've done in quick fashion here in the last few months to connect with one another in terms of providing the best possible educational environment under the circumstances for our kids. And I know families have been doing everything they can to make things work, and my appreciation is very deep to the parents and families in terms of what's happened here in the last few months. But everybody's doing their very best. It's not perfect, for sure, but we're continuing to refine our efforts as it relates to K-12 remote education. And I believe strongly that when school officially begins, we'll be incorporating remote learning with the traditional models. But I just can't say enough for our staff and our families, our parents, for doing a great job.
The different school districts around the state are looking at this all different ways. All the kids in the Shelton School District will move on in a grade, move up in their respective grades. Is that what the thought is?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, today I'm doing a video congratulating our students and wishing them the very best as they continue their educational journey. I'm specifically going to congratulate our seniors and then the rest of our students on video, and thanking the families again for all their support during these difficult times.
When it comes to the end of the year celebrations, I got a note from a listener asking about awards night, and that's a traditional great one to honor the students that worked hard over the years. These are obviously going to be different looking than in the past, but that is still on the calendar?
Well, I know the senior awards are definitely on the calendar. They're probably going to be dealt with virtually. And again, what I'm doing today on video, we've created a video that is basically going to congratulate our students and wishing them well, again, as they move towards the different grade levels and so on.
This week, 7 different subcommittees met for the first time to talk about what it could look like and how best to prepare students, faculty, and parents for an upcoming open of the next school year. Sounds like you got a lot of great input and buy-in from the community.
Oh, absolutely, and the staff both. We have 7 subcommittees that cover various areas that are going to be very important as we open school, and we have over 120 community and staff members involved on those 7 committees, and I think more are joining. I'm in charge of the policy subcommittee, and that committee, we're going to wait a little while before we initiate it because we have our attorneys looking at current policy, and we need to wait and see where the state is going in terms of opening school, and then we would come in with this subcommittee and review and see what we needed to modify in terms of policy, and I'll be communicating with my group of people here through email today. It's tremendous. We've got tremendous community and staff support and interest in terms of how school's going to open. of course, we want to do our very best, and when school opens, we want to be ready for just about anything. So these subcommittees are extremely important, and I would like to thank everybody that signed up to this point, and anybody else that's interested. I thank you very much. It's going to be a collaborative effort to open schools up again.
One of the things I remember from my graduation, it was for many folks in the South Sound, is heading over to St. Martin's for the pavilion. You know, it really, I mean, the whole deal with that is just because it's a large venue. I mean, it's got all the space with the parking and the seating. Obviously now, things have changed and continue to change. We don't know how graduation will look for students across the state, but I hear that there are certain conversations starting to happen for Shelton.
Oh, absolutely. We had staff and community and parents working on graduation. There's a tentative date, I believe is pretty secure, that at Shelton High School is going to be on the 23rd of June from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's going to be a lot longer than what it traditionally is. And, of course, Choice High School is going to have their ceremony. They're prepared to go virtual if they need to, but they have plans very similar to Shelton High School to honor our seniors. So committees, parents, and staff have been working very hard to prepare as much as they can a traditional graduation ceremony and celebration. So we're going to honor our seniors for sure.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on that for sure. And again, we'll get that information out when we know it. Well, we're just a few weeks away from the end of this. Now, there's definitely going to be an asterisk at the end of this school year for everybody.
Absolutely. I do want to add that this has been an exciting week. We swore in a new school board member, Lynn Niten, and we welcome her, and she's going to be a great addition to the school board, and we're all looking forward to working with Lynn. And we thank her for volunteering to be on the school board, and we're excited to have her on board.
Dr. Alex Apostle, weekly here on the morning show Daybreak with Jeff and Spencer on iFiber One News Radio. We'll check back in with you next week. How's that sound?
Very good, Jeff. Thank you. You take care.
All right, Alex.
Thank you so much for listening to today's Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. Again, I'm so happy and honored you found us and chose to listen. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of some of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on iFiber One News Radio KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Thank you so much again, and talk with you next time.